Promoting chemical safety around the world is a matter of planetary importance, which affects the well-being of all of us. Worldwide chemicals management has come a long way already, from its inclusion in the Sustainable Development Goals in 2002 and the Strategic Approach to International Chemicals Management, SAICM, to implementations all over the world via the International Conference on Chemicals Management right until today. Together, we have reached many milestones, but many challenges still lie ahead. Today, at ICCM5, the 5th International Conference on Chemicals Management in Bonn, Germany, we aim to take the next steps for the protection of the planet, as well as for the health and well-being of all humans living on it, for basic human rights worldwide, and for prosperity and innovation across the globe. We are looking forward to reaching the next milestones together, united for a fair and chemical-safe future.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I ask you to take your seat, please? Thank you. Before we move to the formal opening of the 5th session of the International Conference on Chemicals Management, we are very privileged this morning to have with us here the Youth Symphony Orchestra of Bonn, who will start off this opening ceremony for us with a cultural performance. 45 young people and students of both orchestras from Bonn and Köln, Cologne, will be on stage and will be conducted by Andreas Binnen. The Bonn Youth Symphony Orchestra, better known as the BISO, is the youth orchestra of the city of Bonn. Since it was founded in 1972, it has offered numerous talented young musicians between the age of 12 and 22 an opportunity to gain experience in a symphonic ensemble and to work on many great works of orchestral literature. The BISO is supported by the Köln Symphony Orchestra, founded in summer 2014. The Köln Orchestra is an ensemble consisting of students and employees of Köln and musicians from outside the university. In addition, there is a cooperation with the University of Music and Dance of Cologne. They will play pieces of the Symphony No. 5 in C minor by Ludwig van Beethoven, better known as the Fate Symphony, its first movement, Allegro con brio. Thank you so very much for this wonderful performance, this musical interlude that we are so fortunate to hear today, here in the city of Beethoven, in the city of Bonn. I would like now to invite our VIP guest to make their opening statement. May I first call on Her Excellency Ms. Steffi Lemke, Federal Minister for the Environment, Nature Conservation, Nuclear Safety and Consumer Protections of Germany, to make her opening remark. Madam Lemke.
Minister Krischer, Mayor Dörner, Director Shaila, ICCM5 President Anita Breyer, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues. Welcome to Bonn and the fifth session of the International Conference on Chemicals Management. Many thanks to the musicians for setting the tone so beautifully with Ludwig van Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Beethoven is one of this city's most famous sons, and his works, inspiration and creativity continue to touch us today. May this creative momentum spur us on in our work over the coming days. Bonn is a perfect place for our conference. This city has become a sustainability hub with the United Nations campus at its heart. This is where future issues concerning the whole world are explored. Safe management of chemicals is crucial for achieving the goals of the 2030 Agenda. At first, this may not be self-evident, but the right to clean water, for instance, can never be implemented while chemicals continue to pollute water bodies and groundwater. Nor can there be decent work for everyone as long as 1 billion people worldwide are still exposed to toxic substances and fumes in the workplace, risking illness. As long as lead in the environment impairs children's mental development, the right to education is not fully secured. Chemicals and waste are a major cause of the global pollution crisis. Too often, however, their role has been overlooked. Yet global pollution with harmful substances is an existential threat to humans and the environment. It is up to us and to this conference to shine a light on the risks and tackle the pollution crisis with bold decisions. Ladies and gentlemen, chemicals are found in cosmetics, textiles, batteries, and electrical appliances. When fields are fertilized, raw materials extracted, or houses built, chemicals are always involved. They can save lives, for example, when used in medicine. Chemicals accomplished much. On the other hand, when not used responsibly, chemicals pose considerable risks. Chemicals can have adverse effects if they end up in water, soil, or air. Inhaling hazardous substances or ingesting them via food or water can harm human health and even cause premature death. These risks exist worldwide, as chemicals do not stop at borders. Products and foodstuffs are traded globally. Air and water do not stop at borders either, and that makes chemical pollution a global problem. This means that no country can adequately protect its people and its environment through national measures alone. We need cooperation on a global scale. In the past, our endeavors in this context were not successful enough. The international community failed to achieve the 2020 target to minimize the adverse impacts of chemicals on human health and the environment. Global production of chemicals is growing rapidly, and environmental and health problems are growing with it. Let us take ICCM5 as an opportunity to do things better this time around. From an economic point of view, we are well advised to make the manufacture and use of chemicals safer. Recent findings of the World Bank clearly show that mismanagement of chemicals creates huge costs: financial, social, health, and environmental costs. These are costs we cannot afford and should not put up with. Instead, we should invest in a sustainable future. Ladies and gentlemen, in this week ahead of us, we must steer a course towards this goal. Our aim is to agree on ambitious global chemicals management and strike a path towards modern, sustainable chemicals policy. We must decide which concrete goals to set at international level for chemicals and waste management and how these are to be achieved. For effective chemicals management, we need laws which are also enforced, and governments willing to build and finance these necessary structures. We need education and knowledge about the day-to-day risks of chemicals and waste management. We need companies that not only observe the laws, but also make their own business models and supply chains sustainable. And we need innovations supplied by industry, supported by policy. Innovations which help us advance the energy transition, circular economy, and resource conservation. Achieving this is no small feat, but it can be done. The key is to balance the diverse goals and interests, and that requires all stakeholders to work together. Such close collaboration is at the very heart of SciChem and the International Conference on Chemicals Management, where governments, industry, and civil society work together as equals. This cooperation is both a valuable asset and a great responsibility. I would like us all to remember that over the next few days as we work to find a consensus. I wish us all successful negotiations, the necessary flexibility, and the courage to make compromises. Let us bring new political momentum to SciChem. May ICCM5 send a clear message that we are ready to tackle the pollution crisis. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency. May I now call on His Excellency Oliver Krischer, Minister of the Environment of North Rhine-Westphalia.
Minister Lemke, Mayor Dörner, Director Agarwal Khan, President Breyer, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very delighted to speak to you today as Environment Minister of the state of North Rhine-Westphalia, the home of 18 million people in the industrial heart of Germany. Because of that, we have many experience with chemicals, and chemical safety is not just an important issue for an environmental minister. Safe use and management of chemicals is in all of our interest. There is no disputing the fact that we need chemicals in many applications. What is crucial is that we use them safely in order to protect our environment, especially soils and water bodies. Why is protecting our soils so important? Intact soils store enormous amounts of CO2 and are fundamental for biodiversity and the protection of groundwater, and certainly they are the basis of food production all over the world. Intact soils can mitigate flooding or periods of drought and heat through their water storage and cooling functions. Due to our region's history of industrial use, we are dealing with a particularly large number of contaminated sites, chemicals from handling in earlier times when chemical safety was not the priority it is today. With more than 9,000 remediated sites in North Rhine-Westphalia, we have special experience in the treatment of contaminated sites. But we have left many work, at least there are 90,000 sites left. They have to be done in future. Protecting our waters is just as important as protecting our soils. Clean water is the most important resource for our water supply. We have already achieved a great deal in reducing our water pollution in Germany and in North Rhine-Westphalia, but much has to be done in future. Micropollutants are a significant source of pollution, the result of everyday use of chemical substances such as medicine or detergents and cleaning agents. To reduce the input of micropollutants in water bodies, North Rhine-Westphalia has long been pursuing a comprehensive approach with measures from the source of downstream measures and waste treatment plants. Our goal is to further reduce the input of pollutants in order to protect drinking water and hydroecology. Chemical safety plays a crucial role here. I wish you successful conferences to reach this. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I would now like to invite Ms. Katja Dörner, Mayor of our host and beautiful city of Bonn, to take the floor.
Minister Lemke, Minister Krischer, Mrs. Agarwal-Khan, Dr. Breyer, esteemed delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to welcome you here today and to open this 5th session of the International Conference on Chemical Management at the World Conference Center here in Bonn. First of all, allow me to thank the Federal Ministry for the Environment for hosting this important conference and Minister Lemke for joining us on this special occasion today. Right here in the former parliamentary and governmental district, we are in today's international Bonn. As you will know, Bonn is not only Germany's second political center, but also Germany's United Nations city. Only footsteps away, UN Bonn has grown into a powerful house for sustainability over the past 25 years, shaping a sustainable future for all from here. In Bonn, you find yourself in a hotspot for networking and collaboration, starting with UN Bonn with currently 26 entities working from here, but also featuring a dense cluster of sustainability key players in academia, business and NGOs, the excellent science and research region in and around Bonn, and a supportive, attentive civil society. It is on Bonn's UN campus in the World Conference Center Bonn and neighboring area in our international district where our future of people and planet is being shaped. As Mayor of Bonn, I am of course very pleased that you are continuing your work here after the long break since the last ICCM session in Geneva 2015. Not only does Bonn offer a particularly suitable location for large international conference on the former premises of the federal government, but the great importance of the responsible handling of chemicals is also apparent to the people in our city, region and federal state. Our city is part of the state of North Rhine-Westphalia, which is Germany's most important business location for the chemical industry. In fact, roughly 1/3 of the total turnout of the German chemical industry is generated here in Northern Rhine-Westphalia. In addition to this economic importance, chemistry also plays a significant role as a component of science and research for the region's universities and scientific institutions. The International Sustainable Chemistry Collaborative Center, located in Bonn, was founded in 2017 on the initiative of the Federal Ministry for the Environment and the Federal Environment Agency. ISC3 fosters the transition of the chemical and chemical-related sectors to sustainable chemistry, so it perfectly fits Bonn as a center for sustainable development. Another perfect fit is a strategic approach to international chemicals management adopted by the first ICCM. Against this backdrop, I am particularly pleased that your work here is advancing the Global Sustainable Development Goals by placing a particular focus on SDG number 3, good health and well-being, number 12, responsible consumption and production, and number 17, partnerships for the goals. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed delegates, again, it is my pleasure to welcome you to our beautiful city on the banks of the Rhine. I wish you fruitful negotiations that will contribute to the aim of promoting chemical safety around the world. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dörner. I now call on Ms. Sheila Agarwal-Khan, Director of Economy and Industry Division of UNEP, speaking on behalf of Inger Anderson, our Executive Director of the United Nations Environment Programme.
Welcome to Bonn for the 5th session of the International Conference on Chemicals Management, ICCM5. My thanks to Germany, host and president of this conference. This, my friends, is no ordinary session. We are here to negotiate, to finalize and adopt the Beyond 2020 Global Chemicals and Waste Framework. Adopting this framework is the strongest form is vital, because the international community failed to meet the 2020 goal of producing and using chemicals in a way that minimizes impacts on the environment and human health. As a result, over 2 million people continue to die each year from direct chemical pollution. Ecosystems and the essential services they provide are being harmed. Adopting and implementing this framework is urgent because the chemical industry is expected to double in size over 2017 levels by 2030. If the industry sectors producing and using chemicals across their life cycle grow without reforming, the harm caused by unsound management of chemicals across the life cycle will also grow. To put it bluntly, many more people will die, particularly the poorest and the most vulnerable. And this will be on us. 2030 is also the year when we are supposed to achieve the 2030 Agenda, the interim goals of the Paris Agreement and the Global Biodiversity Framework. The nations of the world recommitted to meeting the Sustainable Development Goals at the UN General Assembly earlier this month. Without strong and urgent action on ending chemical pollution by creating safe chemicals and products, these commitments will not be met. So the goal is clear: to get the deal done. Friends, please allow me to reiterate what I have said before in terms of how an instrument set up for success should look. The new instrument should be crystal clear on how governments can create the right policy and regulatory environment to shift business practices. And it should be clear on what the industry and its financial backers must do. The new instrument, in addition to having governments at the table, should be inclusive, bringing in NGOs, indigenous groups, local communities, workers, consumer, youth, and the private sector. The perspectives and solutions of these groups are central to a just transition. The framework should be clear on how it will unlock funding and investment opportunities, particularly to support countries lacking institutional capacities to enable the safe management of chemicals. This means realigning incentives to prompt innovation and end chemical pollution. This means verifiable ambition applied across manufacturing and supply chains, from production, sale and use to end of life, the full life cycle. This means repurposing subsidies in high-impact sectors such as agriculture. We also need to see innovations in financing, in public budgets, public procurement, extended producer responsibility, and more. Friends, this week you have the chance to build on the growing momentum around the sound management of chemicals, to retain the benefits that chemicals bring to humanity while ending the damage they cause, to create a chemicals industry that has a positive balance sheet for people, planet, and profit. I urge you to take this chance and help steer the course to a future free of pollution. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Agrawal-Khan. Finally, I would like to invite Anita Breyer, ICCM5 President, to provide us with her remarks.
Excellencies, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, and dear friends, at the heart of our work over the next 5 days lies the urgent need to tackle the global pollution crisis, to protect human health and the environment from hazards and risks from chemicals and waste throughout value and supply chains. To this end, we expect our conference to adopt an ambitious and long-term international framework to deal with pollution from chemicals and waste. Our framework will have broad, high-level political commitment and practical operational arrangements that guide increased and strengthened multi-sector and multi-stakeholder action to urgently address the global crisis in the immediate and in the long term. And finally, right now, ICCM5 starts. It was a long road to get us to this point. Twice we had to postpone the conference due to the COVID pandemic. And you all, we all, had to work very hard and over a long time to shape the framework that we will want to agree upon this week. Still, we do have a huge task ahead of us this week, as clearly outlined by Minister Lemke a few minutes ago, and the other interventions as well. So first, I want to thank you all very much for your endurance and hard work delivered so far already. And of course, in particular, I want to thank you for the intense preparatory work many of you have put in, especially over the last 2 very intense days at our IP 4.3 meeting. On that basis, it's time to get it done. And let me add at this point, I am very proud that we will finish this work in my hometown, Bonn. And I call on you one more time, let us continue to work in the Bonn spirit of live and let live. This means enjoy to come together with other people, fully respect the diversity of our opinions and views, be pragmatic, and on that basis, establish a common ground for being together, for finding solutions and consensus for an ambitious framework. Let me add at this point one remark. We are not yet really in the full Bonn spirit. I see you all in a very concentrated mood, very much dedicated to work hard for this instrument. And I enjoy that very much. And I see that you are enjoying that as well. Wonderful. But I also see that delegates work sometimes under the assumption, well, let me just explain one more time what my position is. And then I do think that the other one will come and join my position. This approach is full of trust and sympathy for the other one because you trust that you can convince and that that person are. But it is not the full Bonn spirit. The full Bonn spirit and the strong Bonn spirit says, first of all, I understand you, I want to understand you, but then I accept your view. So our Bonn spirit, live and let live, means that we do accept other views as well, and on that basis build a common ground and find the language for our framework. So I'm counting on the Bonn spirit to grow during these 5 days a bit more than it has been, and let's go to work now, and I really mean now. Thank you very much. Looking forward to work with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Ms. Breyer, for this inspiring insight and encouragement. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our opening ceremony. May I ask you to remain in your seat while our guest and the orchestra leaves and while we rearrange the podium. Thank you.